They might look like legends, but these bikes are secretly some of the most unreliable machines ever made. From factory flaws to constant breakdowns, they've stranded riders, emptied wallets, and earned reputations no brand wants. Whether it's electrical chaos, overheating engines, or self-destructing parts, these motorcycles break more than they ride. Let's see if you ever owned one of them, or maybe more. The KTM 950 and 990 adventure bikes promise to be the ultimate off-road travel machines. Lightweight, powerful, and packed with Dakar-winning DNA. But ask any long-term owner and they'll tell you the truth. These bikes are time bombs. Water pump seals fail constantly, letting coolant leak into the oil unnoticed. Left unchecked, that turns into full-blown engine damage. And it's not an isolated case. It's a recurring flaw that KTM fans have documented for years. Then there's the clutch slave cylinder, another weak link. It tends to give out mid-ride, especially under heat and load, leaving riders stranded with no power to the rear wheel. The fuel pump is just as infamous, mounted in a vulnerable spot and known for dying without warning, especially during long-distance touring or desert rides. Combine that with fragile wiring and a regulator that overheats regularly, and you got a bike that's allergic to reliability. Even KTM diehards admit it. The 950-990 platform requires constant vigilance. You're not just maintaining it, you're managing its breakdown cycles. Sure, it rides like a beast when it works, but when it doesn't, you're facing electrical gremlins, cooling failures, and repair bills that suck the joy right out of the adventure. Like bikes that actually last, hit like and subscribe now before you end up with a garage queen that breaks more than it rides. The Harley-Davidson Sportster might be an icon, but certain model years, especially early 2000s and pre-2006, are mechanical nightmares. These bikes suffered from weak charging systems, oil leaks, and brittle ignition modules that fail without warning. Riders have reported repeated stator and regulator failures, sometimes just months after replacement. Worse, these issues often leave owners stranded with a dead battery and no warning lights. Transmission problems were another common complaint. False neutrals and rough shifts plagued the 5-speed gearboxes, and some riders dealt with gear slippage or broken shifter return springs. The electrical system didn't help either. Wiring harnesses corroded easily, and poor grounding led to unpredictable starting issues. Add in low-quality fuel pumps that occasionally just quit mid-ride, and it's a cocktail of unreliability. Even Harley loyalists admit these Sportsters need constant attention. Unless you enjoy wrenching more than riding, these bikes might end up costing you more time than they're worth. The Royal Enfield Bullet 500 has a cult following, but reliability isn't the reason why. Older models, especially the pre-2017 versions with carbureted engines, are notorious for constant mechanical issues. Engine oil leaks are practically standard, with owners joking that if it's not leaking, it's out of oil. The clutch plates wear out quickly, and the gearbox is still based on decades-old designs, often miss-shift or get stuck entirely. Electrical issues are just as common, from failing stator coils to headlight short circuits and melted wiring. The Bullet's electrical system feels like it was an afterthought. Starter motors frequently die early, forcing owners back to the kickstart method, which itself is unreliable due to weak return springs or poor compression. Add in drum brakes that barely work, poor fuel economy for a 500cc bike, and inconsistent build quality from the factory, and you got a motorcycle that breaks down often and feels outdated even when it's running. The Suzuki TL1000S was supposed to be Suzuki's answer to Ducati's booming V-twins. Instead, it became infamous for its wild handling and mechanical problems. The biggest issue? Its rotary rear damper suspension, which was heavily criticized for overheating and losing damping effectiveness during spirited riding. This led to the dangerous instability, especially at high speeds or under hard braking, earning it the nickname Widowmaker. But suspension wasn't its only flaw. Electrical gremlins plagued the bike, particularly in the rectifier regulator unit, which frequently failed in fried batteries. Oil packs, fuel pump relays, and even the ECU had a tendency to go bad. The charging system was so underpowered that many riders upgraded components just to keep their batteries alive. Then there's the throttle response, snatchy, unpredictable, and difficult to control at low speeds. The TL1000S had potential, but poor engineering choices doomed it. It's a classic case of big ideas ruined by bad execution. The HarleyDavidson Street 750 was designed to attract new riders with a lower price point and urban-friendly performance. What looked like a smart entry-level cruiser turned out to be riddled with problems. Owners quickly found themselves dealing with brake failures, poor build quality, and constant overheating issues. In fact, the Street 750 was subject to multiple recalls for corroded brake calipers that could seize without warning, putting riders at serious risk. The engine, while smooth in theory, had poor heat management. In city traffic, the bike ran hot enough to scorch riders' legs. That wasn't the only complaint. Many reported stalling, low-speed jerking, and fuel pump failures that made it unreliable for daily use. Even cosmetic parts like switchgear and mirrors would loosen or fall off due to vibration. The Street 750 may carry the Harley badge, but it failed to live up to the brand's legacy. Many riders regretted buying it within the first year. The Aprilia RSV MA had the heart of a superbike and the look of an exotic, but underneath its sleek fairings lurked a range of mechanical problems that turned excitement into frustration. One of the most common complaints from owners was the poor quality electrics, especially the charging system. Faulty stators, weak voltage regulators, and fragile connectors led to dead batteries, fried components, and unpredictable starts, especially in hot weather. The MA also suffered from sensor failures and fuel delivery issues. The fuel pump would sometimes quit without warning, and throttle position sensors were known to go out of sync, causing rough idling and poor acceleration. Even the instrument cluster was prone to glitches, with LCD displays failing or resetting themselves randomly mid-ride. Despite solid performance when it worked, the RSV MA became infamous for spending too much time in the garage. Riders loved how it handled but dreaded what would break next. The Bule Blast was Harley-Davidson's attempt to create a simple, affordable entry-level motorcycle, but it quickly gained a reputation for being one of the most unreliable beginner bikes on the market. Its air-cooled 492cc single-cylinder engine was known for excessive vibration, which not only made rides uncomfortable, but also shook bolts loose and caused parts to fall off. Plastic body panels were especially prone to cracking or detaching entirely. Beyond vibrations, the Blast suffered from starting issues and carburetor problems that made cold starts a nightmare. The automatic choke system often failed, leaving riders stranded or flooding the engine. Many owners reported leaking head gaskets, broken exhaust mounts, and a general lack of durability, even under light use. Although it was marketed as easy to ride and maintain, the Bule Blast often left riders frustrated and disappointed. Instead of inspiring confidence, it taught them how to call for a tow truck. The MV Augusta F4 1000 is one of the most beautiful sport bikes ever built, but reliability was never part of its design brief. While it dazzled with exotic looks and Ferrari-derived engineering, owners quickly discovered that real-world riding came with constant headaches. The F4 was plagued by overheating issues, especially in city traffic, due to poor airflow and underperforming radiator setup. Riders reported engines running dangerously hot even during mild weather. Electrical problems were just as frustrating. The bike's wiring harnesses were notoriously fragile, with weak connectors that would corrode or disconnect under vibration. The dashboard often glitched, displaying incorrect speed, RPM, or even failing to turn on. Sensor failures, especially the crankshaft position sensor, were common and could lead to random stalling at any speed. Maintenance costs were sky high and parts availability was poor, even for basic components. Owning an F4 wasn't just expensive, it was like being in a long-term relationship with an unstable Italian supermodel. The Bimoda Vo 500 was one of the most ambitious two-stroke bikes ever built, but it also became one of the most catastrophic engineering failures in motorcycle history. Bimoda tried to equip this high-performance two-stroke with fuel injection, something no one had successfully done at the time. The result? A complete disaster. The injection system caused unpredictable power delivery, misfires, engine seizures, and unbearable throttle lag. Many units were recalled, and Bimoda had to retrofit them with carburetors just to make the bike semi-rideable. But even then, the engine remained temperamental and difficult to tune. It also suffered from poor lubrication, leading to premature wear and top-end failures after very little use. The chassis and styling were exceptional, but none of that mattered when the bike couldn't run properly. The Vo was so unreliable it nearly bankrupted Bimoda. Today it's remembered less as a masterpiece and more as a warning. The Suzuki RE5 rotary was one of the boldest motorcycle experiments of the 1970s and one of the biggest reliability flops. Powered by a Vonkel rotary engine, it looked futuristic and promised smooth, turbine-like performance. But in practice, the RE5 was plagued with overheating, oil leaks, and premature engine wear. The rotary design created excessive heat and required a complex cooling system that often failed, leading to warped housings and lost compression. Maintenance was another nightmare. The rotary engine was unfamiliar to most mechanics, and replacement parts were expensive or impossible to find. Even the ignition system was troublesome. Early models used a dual-point system that was difficult to tune and prone to failure. Many owners found themselves spending more time fixing the bike than riding it. Despite its innovation, the RE5 was heavy, underpowered, and unreliable. Suzuki pulled the plug after just 2 years, and the rotary dream died along with it. Not all bikes are built to last, and these 10 proved it the hard way. If you've owned one, you know the pain. If you haven't, now you know what to avoid. Hit that like button if this saved you a bad purchase, and subscribe for more brutally honest motorcycle breakdowns, buying guides, and real rider insights. Ride smart and stay safe.